بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
Assalamu alaikum. Today is Tuesday, the 1st of June 2021, and the Lahore Ahmadiyya community welcomes you to its broadcasts. This series is called Reflections on the Holy Quran, and this is broadcast number 214 of that series. And in it, we've been discussing chapter 2, verse 86 of the Holy Quran. And in discussing that chapter, this is the 5th broadcast. Just to remind you that the Lahore Ahmadiyya community was created by Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad of Qadian. And he taught us that although people want to bring another prophet after the Holy Prophet Muhammad, the Holy Prophet Muhammad was the last prophet. Now, no prophet is going to come, whether it is an old prophet or a new one. And he claimed that he was the Mujaddid of the 14th century of Hijrah, and he was the one for whom titles of Messiah and Mahdi had been used. He also taught that although Muslims are very keen to call each other kafir and heretic and out of fold of Islam and so on, the Holy Prophet had said that if one reciter of the Kalima says to another reciter that you are not a Muslim, you are a kafir, then it is the person saying it who becomes the heretic or the kafir. And he also taught us that although Muslims say that some of the prophetic revelation like Ayah Rajam or Surah Walayat are missing from the Holy Quran, this is untrue. All prophetic revelation that the Holy Prophet Muhammad received is preserved and saved in the Holy Quran. He also taught that although people say that some verses of the Holy Quran are abrogated, even Hazrat Shah Waliullah, he writes that people say that 512 verses of the Holy Quran have been abrogated. 512 verses. But Hazrat Shah Waliullah says that I have conducted research, and in my opinion, only 7 verses of the Holy Quran are abrogated. But he still says there are verses. But Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad taught Lahore Ahmadiyya community that no verse of the Holy Quran was, is, or ever shall be abrogated. Similarly, the Holy Quran says that jihad is a duty of every Muslim. This is true. We agree with that. But then Muslims go on to interpret jihad as taking the sword and chopping someone's head off if he refuses to recite the kalima. We disagree with that. The Holy Quran, the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself explained what jihad is. He said, on returning from a battle, he said, from minor jihad we return to the major jihad, and then explained that major jihad is a struggle against your own selfish desires, your negative emotions, things like envy, jealousy, greed, not caring about other human beings, lying, dishonesty. List is a long one. You know it as well as I do. But this is the Holy Prophet's explanation of jihad. Certainly, if you're attacked with the sword, then there is no point in making a very eloquent speech about the truth of the Holy Quran and Islam. You respond in the same way. With that, let us turn to verse 86 of Al-Baqarah and continue our consideration of that. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أولئك الذين اشتروا الحياة الدنيا بالآخرة فلا يخفف عنهم العذاب ولا هم ينقمون. These are they who buy the life of this world in exchange for the hereafter. So their punishment shall not be lightened, nor shall they be helped. So today we are going to look at the word al-azab. So let us see what the Holy Quran tells us about that. As I always start with considering what the root of the word is. Because the whole of Arabic language is based on triliteral consonant roots. And the root of this word is Ain, Rad, Ba. And you find it in the Holy Quran 373 times. And it's used in five different meanings, 5 different words. Azaba, Azab, Azb, Mu'azzib, Mu'azzabin, and 322 times it's used as Azab, and 41 times as Azaba, and the rest is 2 times, 4 times, and so on. And in chapter 2, verse 284, we find فَيَغْفِرُ لِمَنْ يَشَاءُ وَيُعَذِّبُ مَنْ يَشَاءُ وَاللَّهُ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. He will punish you. He will punish, and he will punish. Why you azim? And then you have a slightly different, it looks like a different word, although it's the same. فَأُعَذِّبُهُمْ عَذَابًا شَدِيدًا. Now I will punish them. So these different shapes, words, occur because in Arabic the pronoun is added to the noun. We have word mola, and which means Lord. So we say Molvi. So we add V at the end. My Lord. Maulana, our Lord. These are informal titles given to religious leaders and so on, but I was just mentioning them to make a point. Yu'azzibahum. Again, punishment, punishes them. Chapter 3, verse 129. So this is to punish. So as I said, this is used quite a few times. And then we have, it's used as a noun. Punishment. Walahum azabun azim. A punishment. Yasumunakum sual azab. Punishment, torment. Chapter 2, verse 49. The first one was chapter 2, verse 7. And so on. وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ شَدِيدُ الْعَذَابِ. Chapter 2, verse 65. Again, punishment. فَمَنِ اعْتَدَىٰ بَعْدَ ذَٰلِكَ فَلَهُ عَذَابٌ أَلِيمٌ. Again, punishment. Chapter 2, verse 178. And so on. So it's mostly used in the sense of that noun. Punishment, punishment, the punishment, a punishment, etc. And then after that, we go on to, if I can get to the other words in my notes. This list is quite a long one. And then we have its use as Hiza azbun foratun wa hiza milahun ujaj. Hiza azbun foratun, and so on. The first three words are the same. The first one is chapter 25, verse 53. The next one is chapter 35, verse 12. But here it means something that's palatable, something that's nice to eat, something that is fresh. And then again we go back to وَمَا كَانَ اللَّهُ مُعَذِّبَهُمْ وَهُمْ يَسْتَغْفِرُونَ. Again, the one who punishes them. وَمَا كَانَ اللَّهُ مُعَذِّبَهُمْ مَا كُنَّا مُعَذِّبِينَ حَتَّى نَبْعَثَ رَسُولًا. Again, to punish. And so on. So let us then look at what the meanings of these words are. So let's go to the standard Arabic dictionary of Mufradat, Al-Fazul Quran, the Ayn Wal Ba. And after all that, you'll be surprised to know Ma Un Azbun means pleasant water. That's nice to drink. That quenches your thirst. And the verse I recited, chapter 25, verse 53, Haza Azbun Horatun, that is, the water is pleasant. It's nice to drink. It is the water that quenches your thirst. I mean, take the example that it's a very hot day and you come across a tap that is in the sun and the tap is very hot. You turn it on and very hot water is coming out. And if you try and drink that, it's not going to quench your thirst. You're not going to feel nice after drinking that. It may even make things worse. Or, seawater. If you're thirsty and you drink that, it has the reverse effect. You feel even worse after that. Azabal Qawm. Qawm, people, nation, they started getting sweet water. So remember, water can be bitter as well. And as we know from places in Pakistan, we don't have to go to Saudi Arabia. There's a place called Thar, and it's a desert. And people have huge problems getting water that they can drink. But of course, then you have the word al-azab, and that is punishment, torment, pain, and so on. And the Holy Quran, chapter 27, verse 21, says, La'u azzibannahu azaban shadid, and there'll be grievous, painful punishment for these people. Or for that matter, وَمَا لَهُمْ أَلَّا يُؤَذِّبَهُمُ اللَّهُ. Chapter 8, verse 34. Okay? God says, tell me, give me a reason why I shouldn't punish you. And we have other words which are similar to, not which are derived from it. These words are common in languages like Urdu and so on. Ta'zeeb, which means punishment, literally means to hit. And that's obviously not in the sense of getting into a fight and hitting someone, but actually hitting someone as punishment. So, what we have is three different meanings of this word, of this root. So the root includes these three characteristics. One, water, and that is the water, what is called sweet water. Water which is pleasant to drink. Water which quenches your thirst. As I said earlier on, if you're thirsty and you drink seawater, that is not going to quench your thirst. That is going to actually make matters worse. So, this is nice, pleasant, what people call sweet water. And then it also has the sense, another derivative of something that hinders you living your life without stress and in comfort and so on, in a relaxed way. And then the third thing is some barrier or being told not to do something. So you can see that these words are being used for errors because, as I explained, sweet water or good water was a rarity. And people would end up fighting each other for good water. It wasn't that different from, I don't know, you must have seen some of you Western movies in which sheep herders and ranchers end up fighting each other for water. And it was not that different in Arabia, that people would end up fighting for water because you need water to survive. You need water that you can drink and survive, and so on. And if that water is polluted, then of course that causes problems for you. Now, what you have to remember is that this is used in Al-Baqarah as the opposite of muflihun. Who are muflihun? Muflihun from falah. Those who gain something. Those who gain receive guidance, falah, betterment. And then the Holy Quran uses the opposite. Lahum azabun azim. That those who are deprived of the comforts of a relaxed way of life, they're forever under stress and so on. And basically, they might have actually lost the ability to enjoy life. I mean, take the example, the great train robbery in the UK. So they got away with a lot of money for that time, but and having done that, you're constantly under stress. You've been deprived of being able to enjoy life. Why? Because you've done something wrong. Is the police coming? Are they going to find us? Are they going to catch us? Are they going to find the money? Etc. So that stress is constant and continuous. Why? This is an example. You're given guidance. The law says, do not rob trains. And you do it. And then now you're worried about what's going to happen. And of course, this is why the same word is used to denote punishment that's handed down by a court. Because what does the court do? They take steps which make it difficult for you to enjoy life. They might put you in prison or you can't enjoy your wedding anniversary, your children's birthdays, your grandchildren's birthdays, and whatever. You can't go out and watch a movie. You have to do and obey instructions by, the warders, the jailers, and so on. Comforts of life, that sweetness of life has been taken away from you. And then, of course, we have that, God punishes people. But remember, people who carried out the great train robbery, they had been told, do not rob trains. If you do, the result is, if you get caught, you'll spend a long time in prison. You'll be deprived of spending Christmases and birthdays and anniversaries with your loved ones. You'll be deprived of the pleasantness of going out to the cinema and the restaurant and so on with your friends and your family and so on. Now, when they're put in prison and deprived, whose fault is it? Their fault or the government's fault? Are you going to say, well, the government is at fault, they're torturing them, they put them in prison and so on? No, of course not. And it's the same with us. God says, appreciate the things that I've given you. Use them well. But what do? We misuse them. We pollute rivers, we pollute the atmosphere, we have noise pollution, we have light pollution, you name it, we have it. But who gets hurt? You have too much carbon dioxide in the air, and you've got hundreds of cars going down this road called the North Circular. And if you have a house on that road, who is going to suffer? You are. But you are a part and parcel of creating that problem. There's something called light pollution. If you live in a town, shops leave their lights on, offices leave their lights on, there are street lights which are on, there are traffic lights and so on. And after sunset, when it's supposed to be pitch dark, there is still light. This is why astronomers and cosmologists and so on, they have to go further and further away from towns to find somewhere where there is no light pollution, so that they can actually observe the universe without the light coming from the universe being disturbed by pollution that we find. There's also noise pollution. I mentioned North Circular. If you've got constant heavy traffic along the road, and you live in a house, and people do live in houses which are actually on North Circular, your house is subjected to constant vibration and noise and so on. Even at night when you're trying to sleep, there are juggernauts thundering by, depriving you of your sleep. That pleasantness, that falah, that rest that you could have had if you had not abused God's bounties, you've lost that. The question is, people always blame God. God did this. No, he didn't. You did. You did. It's like, you go to school and your exams are coming up and the teacher says, well, You got to do a lot of revision and work and so on. You say, yeah, we'll see, and then you sit the exam and you fail it, or you don't get very high marks. Whose fault is it? The teacher who tried to guide you, or you for not listening to that guidance? And that azab could be anything. You know, um, you didn't pass the exam. Maybe now you're not going to get that job you wanted. You might end up stuck in a low-paid job, whatever it might be. But the fault is not your teachers; it's yours for not listening, for not being guided. And it's the same with the whole of humanity. We do wrong things and then we blame God. Why did you do it? Well, excuse me. Did he do it or did you do it? Did you pollute the atmosphere or did he? Did you pollute the rivers or did he? The list is a long one. But rather than take responsibility for our own actions, we try and find a scapegoat. With that, we come to the end of today's broadcast. And with the prayer that whoever you are and wherever you may be, may Allah keep the whole of humanity safe and sound and free from harm and difficulty and disease and problem. Assalamu alaikum, Khuda Hafiz, and goodbye.